Okay, so the first attribute we're going to review for each of the shoes is their performance, right? So what do I mean by performance? Under performance, we have four factors, right? We have cushion, we have traction, we have durability, and we have stability, okay? So starting with the first shoe that was released, the Harden Volume 7s, how does this do for cushion, right? The cushion in the shoe is really nice, right? So how I would describe this is it's a soft, mushy sort of cushion, but it's low to the ground and still very responsive, which is very rare in many hoop shoes. A lot of shoes are either too mushy and not enough traction, not enough response, and some are just response, not enough traction, right? Like the Currys. These guys, right? These guys are mushy, but they're still very good. You feel very fast playing in them. You can change direction, so they don't hurt your knees, right? If you have, if you've been having issues with your knees, they don't make them any worse. And then you can change direction very easily in them. They're low to the ground, very responsive, and still great for a cushion setup. This uses boost and light strike. Here on the medial side, you can see the light strike popping through there. And then you see this cage, typically I would be worried about this because when there's so much caging, it means that the shoe might be a bit stiff because the cushion has no room to compress. But what you find is that this cage is pretty soft, right? It's pretty soft. So because it's soft and it compresses, what really happens is the foam, the midsole can actually compress and you get that smooth ride inside the shoe. You can also see right here the boost peeking out through the sole of the shoe, and also if you look through the insole, right, you'll also see a circular cutout, which also lets you feel that compression underneath your foot. Although it's a crappy insole, it's not that thick, it's not that plush, but because of that cutout, you feel the cushion right underneath your foot, right? So overall, I would say this cushion setup really surprised me a lot, and I would give it really full marks for cushion, right? So full marks for cushion. So because we have a score of 10, right, and we have 4 factors, every sub factor in performance is going to have 2.5 marks max. So this gets the max for cushion. One of the best cushions I've played in so far. Kudos to Adidas basketball. So next that was released was the AC12s. Okay, now these guys are really nice, right? So it's not as, you don't really sink into the cushion like the Harden Volume 7s, right? But it still gives you a very good subtle bounce back while being very responsive, right? So it makes, if you're a guard, you would love to play in these, right? It makes you feel really quick. It uses Boom, so this is from Way of Wade, right? The top line cushion is called Boom, and that's what is used in the shoe. Very great cushion setup. Here, the insole is also not. I mean, it's a bit nicer than the Harden Volume 7s, right? It's a bit plusher. But what they do here is they have a mesh strobe board, right? So if you look there, you can see there's a net right there, and that lets you feel the Boom cushion underneath your foot, right? So this as well, the cushion here is crazy good. No complaints from me. When I stepped in them, I felt like, I was ready to go. Bouncy, low to the ground, and, from a guard's perspective, I love playing in these shoes. So I would give these 2.5 as well. Max scores for cushion. I can't hate when I play in a good shoe, so this gets all the marks. Okay, now lastly, for performance for cushion under performance, we have the AE1s, right? So the AE1s right here, how do these perform, right? So there's a lot of hype saying these were better than, the Harden Volume 7. So I was really eager to play in them, right? When I put my foot in this, it does use boost and light strike. If you look here, you can see the boost peeking out from the torsional plates, which is full length, by the way. But how does the ride feel, right? It has a similar sort of insole to the Volume 7, so I'm not going to show you that. And it has a cutout as well on the sole, right? So it feels very similar to the Harden Volume 7s, but what I would say is it's less mushy and just a little bit more responsive, right? So I would put them in the same class, give or take, but if you just want something a little bit less mushy and more responsive, I wouldn't say more, but slightly more responsive, then AE ones would be your guy. So what do I think about the cushion for the AE ones? I would say top marks, to be honest, right? These three shoes have top marks for cushion. They're both either soft, bouncy, and then although they give you that height off the ground, they will give you that bounce, right? They still feel very responsive, so you can, change, pace and move left, right, up, down the court very easily. So for cushion on a performance, all these get top marks, 2.5. And now we move to the next factor under performance. We have traction, right? So let's talk about traction. Starting again with the AE ones, right? Just check this out, right? Right. Whenever I see herringbone, especially when it's tough rubber, right, and deep grooves, I'm just generally excited, right? So when I got these, I tried these on different sort of courts. I actually played in these today, and you see what they've done here is that there's radial, right? And there's herringbone as well. And then the grooves are a bit far apart. So even if you play on a dusty court, it doesn't pick up dust that so much. And even if it does, right, you can just like wipe it off and you'll be fine. And then based on you can already see that based on the traction, they're multi-directional. So if I'm going up, down, left, right, if I'm trying to make a cut, if I'm trying to do a step back, if I'm going full speed, I stop at a dime, this can take all of that, right? So this traction pattern is super, and it performs super. I'm also surprised, right? Because, most signature shoes, they don't have like the tough rubber, especially for Adidas or Nike. The rubber here is so tough. The grooves are deep. So this baby is going to last you forever, really. You might, generally if you would burn through any shoe on an outdoor court, so it might not be the best to use it, but if there was a shoe, right, in Adidas or Nike today that you could use to play outdoor, then this would be it, right? This is great. And enough of that. All I'm trying to say is top marks for traction. This gets a 2.5 for traction, okay? All right, then let's move to the next shoe, the AC12s, right? Similar, right? Oh, anyways, right? The Way of Wade, they're with the leading brand of China, and those guys, most of the demographic in China play outdoors, right? So most of the times they're gonna have this tough rubber down pack. I think if I look at this, I should be able to see tough RV somewhere saying that it's tough rubber. They do that sometimes, but maybe not in this case. But check this out, right? Same thing with the Harden Volume 7s, a mixture of some radial patterns, and then you also have your herringbone, this AC12, I think, written there. But these perform fantastic, right? So grooves are a bit closer apart than the Volume 7, so they do pick up slightly, a bit more dust, but it's an easy wipe and really something you might not even notice at all. Deep grooves, multi-directional. The traction on this is superb as well. So I'm going to give this full marks, 2.5 as well, just like the Volume 7s. And then I'm going to move to the AE1s, right? So let's talk about the AE1s. AE1s, also, check this out, man. Just this herringbone. I don't know, I've seen a lot of shoes go away, try to get too creative, and you step in the shoes and you just slide like crazy. The herringbone here is dope. Very, very good performance, especially on a clean court. However, right, if you look at this, you see that the grooves are really close together, right? So what happens is there's just a lot of avenue for dust to get trapped in between, and then you can start to slide, right? So I played on this on a clean court, I was fine. On a dusty court, I was fine for the most part, but it did trap dust. I mean, you might not see this, but even I clean my shoes after every play. But even if I zoom this in, if you can see this, you can see there's still dust like trapped in there, as opposed to the other shoes, which I've also played and I just clean, and those are fine. So dust performance is a little bit, where I would say it's not too bad, but it's a little bit iffy. So I would give the AE1s for traction, I would give them a 2, right? So 2.5 for the other shoes, and just a slight downgrade on AE1s for 2, just to keep it a buck, okay? All right, so under performance, we've done cushion and traction, and now we're moving to stability, right? So, okay, let's start with the Hardens for stability, right? See these. Once you see a shoe that's, has this wide base, typically you're good in terms of lateral stability, right? So you see, the shoe is pretty wide, right? It's pretty wide in that sense, really good. And then, of course, you have a torsional plate here. I'm not sure if this carbon fiber feels like plastic though, but it's pretty rigid, right? The shoe doesn't turn right on that axis at all. It's pretty sturdy. And then this is pretty. I like this design with the coat and everything, but there's like a pretty sturdy heel counter here, so you'll be good. Also, there's no like heel slippage when you wear it. This soft knit just wraps around your foot and you're ready to go. So stability, it has an outrigger, right? You can see that pop out right here. So stability is top notch. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. So for stability, you get 2.5 for the Hardens as well. And then moving to the AC12s, look at that, right? You can also see it has a little bit of an outrigger right here. It's not doesn't have a wide base like the Harden in terms of looking at the top of the shoe, but it does have a good enough outrigger, and it is pretty tough and balanced. Also, you can see its cage right here, right? Because Boom is very bouncy, very soft, right? So you have to cage it to keep it under control. So you see that cage running through here, that keeps your foot in check. Also, if you look at here, you can see the torsional plate. It comes right here. You might not see it from the sole of the shoe, but you can see the torsional plate here. And again, you see it's rigid. It's not gonna turn either way. Top stability. And then every time I played in the shoe, every time I changed directions, I didn't have any issues whatsoever. Right? It has a sturdy heel counter right here, and this is gonna keep your foot locked in all day. So even part of the outsole does come out above the cage here, and just also helps to protect your foot during lateral movements. And then you can see this textile material has some sort of cloth here, right? Some sort of fabric that also helps to protect your toe and stop you from getting out of position, right? So yeah, stability on this is crazy. I would give it top marks for sure. 2.5. Okay, and then the AE1s, just looking at these, right, you can I think before I bought them I was like, yo, this reminded me of I don't know if you guys watch Bleach, right? That whole hollow vibe, that whole hollow energy. I think those new Harden Volume 8s they're gonna come out, they actually give that for sure. But I just like the way these look in terms of functionality, not necessarily aesthetics. And then playing in them, there's not an ounce of doubt. These guys, these honeycomb, sideburns or whatever they are, right? They come up and they lock your foot in. And it has this beefy heel counter. This guy's plastic. It's painted like carbon fiber. Good job, Anthony Edwards. But it's really sturdy. Keeps your leg, your foot locked in the shoe. And then, of course, you try to bend it. Is some of these Nike shoes, like the newer ones, the GT Cut Academy, you bend that and it's all over the place. But this one, you can see that there is a torsional plate. You can see it right there. It's full length, right? It's full length. What appears to be maybe carbon fiber, maybe, right? But it's full length from your heel all the way to your front of your toes. That's great. You also have, this plastic cage come here on your foot to keep your foot in place. To see the lacing goes all the way up. This feels like a mid top, not high top, but sort of like a mid top when you put it on foot, and those laces keep you locked down, right? So for stability, you'll be fine. You're not even if you're like a center, I want to say, if you're a power forward, you'll be good. You're not sliding anywhere. Nothing has happened to you. You're fine. You're good to go. Okay, so now we've that's a 2.5 by the way. So max scores on stability for the AE1s, and then the last function of performance, right, is durability, right? So as I already mentioned with the Harden Volume 7s, these are sturdy as hell. These are thick. These grooves are good to go any time of the day, right? So for traction, durability, this gets top marks, 2.5. And then also these guys, man, these are sturdy as hell. Deep, tough rubber grooves. These aren't going anywhere anytime soon, right? So 2.5 for the AC12s too. And then if you look at the AE1s though, I did mention they're close together, but I mean the traction, but for durability, another thing is they are quite, not too thin, but compared that to the other shoes we're looking at, they are a bit on the slim side. And I have seen reviews where people play with them even indoors and they've started to scuff and wear off, right? Mine are still good, but I can see the tendency just because they're a bit soft to the touch, right? So I would give these a 1.5 because for me, if you buy, I have tons of shoes, right, and shoes I've owned for years, and I have played actively with them, and their traction, like in terms of being like not worn off, I have a lot of them in that position, right, and most of them aren't even as expensive as even what this budget shoe is, right? So I feel if you buy a shoe, you shouldn't, especially if you're playing indoors, right, your shoe soles shouldn't wear off, just like the LeBron 21 does, but no one ever says anything. But more on that later. Okay, so 1.5 for durability, for the traction on the AE1s, and then overall for performance, we've gone through cushion, traction, stability, and durability, right? The overall scores we have right now is the Harden Volume 7s sits at 10 over 10 for performance. That's my humble opinion. The AC12s from the Way of Wade brand, 10 over 10 for performance as well. These are I mean these might seem like very lofty scores, but these shoes are crazy good. I guarantee you for performance, right? And then finally the AE1, I have that in 8.5. Still a great performer. I just have it marked down for durability because this might start to wear off, and also for traction because the grooves are too close together, and then this might pick up dust, right? So that's what we have for performance. And then next we're going to go on to comfort and fit.